everybody. How you doing today? My name's Andrew.
Hi, Kate.
I'm Grandpa.
I'm Mimi.
I'm Daniel.
I'm Matt.
I'm Megan.
And we're some of the Veggie Boys.
Hey, go.
And we'd like to thank you for stopping by. If you're new here, please consider subscribing because we can grow a lot of stuff on the farm, but one thing we can't do is grow this channel without your help. Welcome back, everyone. It's so nice to see you. We got a very early start to our morning, and look who's out here early with us. How you doing this morning, Callie?
I'm good.
It is really early, but this is what's important. Callie, do the morning dance. Oh, we're not morning dancing. So we had a lot of early jobs that we were getting taken care of, but now we're here in the farm market working on chores. Animals have all been taken care of this morning, so we don't need to worry about them. We got started with that very early. And now all that's left is to pull everything out of the cooler. We got hit with nearly an inch of rain last night, so things again are sloppy. You're seeing a theme, very sloppy around here. And I know we have a lot of orders that we need to get taken care of today, so regardless of how much rain we got, we're gonna have to be out in the fields. So we got finished with setting up the farm market. The next thing we're gonna be working on is heading out to the fields. We had to wait for Dad to get back from the wholesaler to get a lot of the stuff taken care of. But now that we're all finished with it, we're ready to move on. Now, I mentioned we were working on some jobs earlier this morning. A big one was getting the cattle all bed up. Yesterday, the boys were able to get the pens all cleaned and the manure all spread. So now, even though it's been wet and rainy the past few days, the cattle have plenty of dry bedding. And then something else Daniel and I have been working on this morning was getting tomato orders ready. We had to go through some baskets that we harvested and filled up some boxes. So there's just tons of little jobs that we've been running around doing, and now we're ready to go pick.
Just set them right on that pallet. Yep. On the board.
Yep. Now we need quite a bit of sweet corn today, so we're going to the farm that's a little further away to harvest this morning. We've got 3 bins loaded on the back, and we're gonna get them all filled up. Mom's coming with us this morning, so I got kicked out of the truck, and Matt's gonna ride over with me on the side-by-side. Dad just showed up with the truck, so we're just about ready to get started. The extra rain that we received through the night did make us a little more concerned about this patch of sweet corn that we have down here, but the stuff looks really, really nice. And well, for the amount of sweet corn that we need, we don't really have anywhere else that we can pick. So we gotta make this work. Now, what's funny about this first bin of sweet corn is Matthew got what, cantaloupes from the auction or watermelon? Yeah. Watermelon. I did not write on this, but notice
this is Andrew's handwriting.
Matt is annoying, and then someone got caught writing it.
Yeah.
A little 7-year-old girl.
She works at the neighbor farm market. I don't think she likes me.
Matt, what do you have? 40. So you guys need 10 more and we need 10 more.
Okay. Ooh, that's a beautiful bin of corn. The first bin of corn was a bin that needed to be counted. There's over 600 ears of corn in this bin. And can you tell? That's a fat bin. That's good right there. So as we're driving out through the field, a lot of people get concerned about the stalks that get knocked over. Thankfully, our silage harvester, it has, I don't know what the correct word is for it, but it picks the sweet corn up off the ground, it picks everything off the ground and runs it through the feeding housing, essentially running all this stuff that's been knocked down through the chopper, and it turns it into wonderful feed for the cattle. Now we have 3 bins on the truck. The first bin was the only one that needed to be counted. We're going through that much sweet corn on the farm that we need 2 bins. It's crazy. But I mean, it's easy to see why when the sweet corn tastes this good. As we're harvesting the sweet corn, you'll notice that it's coming off the stalks relatively easy. That's because it's early in the morning. The sweet corn is still pulling in moisture. As the day goes on and the sweet corn is trying to preserve its moisture, it will tighten up its leaves, and in effect, by tightening up the leaves, that makes it so that the sweet corn does not want to come off the stalk, and it's harder on us to pull. And you can still pull it, it's just a lot easier to pull in the morning. Knowing little things like that makes harvesting sweet corn a lot easier on everybody. Just got the second bin of sweet corn all picked, so Daniel's taking it back to the truck. Now I just want to show you something that this farm deals with quite a bit that we're at. Right here in front of me is a wet spot. You can notice how we've got some grass grown up in here and the stalks didn't get any size to them. There is actually a stream of water running down through here. So yeah, I'd say that's pretty wet. Thankfully this section's not too big, but you can notice the difference pretty easily by looking at the field. I think overall we're impressed with how the sweet corn looks at this farm. The variety that we have over here is called Montauk. I did notice something. No, this was not me getting down here and eating this. We do have a little bit of damage. Not sure if that's from raccoons or skunks, but I've seen just a little bit. I'm surprised I haven't seen too much deer damage. That's usually what ails all the crops that we grow over here. But if the raccoons and the skunks only take a little bit from us, it won't be too bad. As we get closer down to the wooded section, we might see a little bit more, but overall it's not been too bad. Now, like I mentioned, Montauk is a variety that we grow the most of over here, but we do have another variety thrown about these fields called Utopia. That's also a nice variety of corn that we like to plant. Montauk though, whoo, that is a beautiful corn. We got ourselves turned around and we are now going the opposite way in the field. However, we are still harvesting the same variety of corn. This is still Montauk. I don't know what it is. We harvest so much corn. In the beginning of the year, my arm does hurt a little bit from picking, but after a while, you just get used to this. It's not too bad unless you're picking thousands and thousands of ears, which sometimes we are, but we haven't been lately, so it hasn't been too terrible. Yeah, we got our last bin filled. So we have 3 full bins heading back to the farm market. That first bin, we got about 600 ears of corn in, and then the 2 bins that followed, I think we filled them about the same. So we got close to 2,000 ears of corn picked this morning. So I know we're all very happy about that, and the customers, ooh, they're gonna be happy too. Dad, I don't know what was going on with our driver today, but they were driving over corn.
Who planted them too close together?
All I know is she looks good in her boots.
We're just waiting to make sure Mom and Dad get out. Oh, like butter. See the old truck we had? Ooh, yeah, she'd have been stuck. Matthew and I have to make a little pit stop on the way home. We have to grab Daniel's quad. I think they left it out by the silage wagon or where they were cutting silage last. So they're gonna be taking all of that corn home, and Matt and I are gonna be heading over to where the silage harvester is. So that means everybody else is going home and Matt and I are going over to the silage harvester. Driving through the coal crops right now, they all look really nice. This is our last planting. The only thing is some of them have been knocked over, probably from the high winds that we had last night. But besides some of them being knocked over, everything else looks pretty good. I got Matthew dropped off at the 4-wheeler. He brought that home. And right when I got back, I got the side-by-side hooked up to the wagon. I do believe we have to make a run right away this morning. Matthew has a delivery. This first bin that we loaded onto the truck, the 600 ears was ordered. So we have this and a few more things in the cooler that need to be brought out. I believe some of the tomatoes that Daniel and I boxed up this morning are also for this order. So we'll have to get them on the truck too. Our next job brings us out here to the garden. We need to get some red beets pulled. We're basically gonna be pulling red beets till lunch. We have none back at the farm market, and we are starting to get orders. Oh, that red beet's stuck. Oh, got it. Now last year we dealt with a pretty large issue when it came to our red beets. The deer were munching on them pretty heavily. We actually lost quite a few. And we were concerned because we never saw the deer out here in the red beets. And yeah, we thought people were stealing them. Yeah, it wasn't a fun time. But it turns out the deer were going through and pulling them out and just eating the beet part. They used to just eat the grains. But I don't know, some deer, they like the red beet itself. So they actually went through and cleaned out almost a whole planting of beets on us. Now, obviously we weren't too happy about it, but at the time there was nothing we could do. So when we found out what the reason was, it made us feel a little better. Thankfully this year the little bandits have not been back. Maybe they forgot that we plant red beets here every year. I don't know, but that's what we'll go with. We haven't had any damage to our red beets when it comes to the deer or other critters, which is always very nice. Now, if you've never picked red beets before, I'll give you some things that we look at while we're harvesting. So we just basically look at the base of the plant, and usually you can see the beet itself. And if the beets are at the desired size that you want, or for example, they're at the size that we want, you just pull them out of the ground. Pretty simple. Depending on the year, sometimes they come out easier, sometimes they don't. You just grab near the base and pull.
Oh.
After we pull for a little bit, we just stack everything up on a pile, and then Daniel comes through with the baskets. He takes the tops off the beets and sorts them by size. Dad and I got a few more mounds of red beets harvested. It is getting closer to lunch, so I'm gonna help Daniel separate them all. This is definitely one of those jobs that the more people you have, it goes quicker. So I'm just gonna help Daniel get all of these tops pulled off. We'll get our red beets separated, and then we can get them back to the farm. It is just about lunchtime here on the farm, so we're gonna stop picking red beets for now. We got 5 baskets of mediums, which that's exciting because that's usually the size we look for. We almost got a basket of large ones, and then we got a basket and a half of small ones. So that is a nice red beet harvest for today. All cleaned up, just have to dry off and they're ready for sale. Just made it in for lunch today. It looks like we're having BLTs. After we got finished with lunch, we got informed that we did not have enough red beets harvested. Apparently there's orders for red beets, the very small ones, of course. So we had to pick a few more. That's way too small. We need smaller than this. So what we end up having to do is come back out here and pull more red beets. Since we're looking for small beets, we have to pull smaller red beets, which is not a fun thing to do because we like to let them get a little bit larger. But since that's what's ordered, you gotta do what you gotta do. And the number one thing with pulling red beets is don't pull Grammy's cylinder beets, which somehow regular seed got mixed in with Grammy's cylinder beet seed. So we just have to be very careful, because the second you pull one of Grammy's red beets, she figures it out and she'll be out here. We just got finished with the last of the red beets. Dad is gonna run and get the 100 hooked to the bean harvester. We do need beans for the farm market, and while he's doing that, Matthew and I are gonna get these red beets washed. I think this is like my 4th or 5th time trying to get hooked up to this wagon today. It just never works. Be able to get enough beans, and with our first harvest we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bushel of green beans. We didn't expect the green beans to actually have that much there. I mean, we always get out and look at the plants, but the plants out towards the middle part of the field were really putting on beans. So I'm walking to the other end of the field to grab the wagon. That way we have plenty of baskets for the next variety. Yeah, there's the reason. Look at all those beans on there. Crazy. Now, some of you that have never seen this machine before may be curious how it works. You can see at the front of the machine, there's two guides that guide the bush into the machine. And inside that machine, there's a cylinder with all these fingers in there that spins and strips the plant completely of all the leaves and all the beans. This is what the plants will usually look like. It does a good job at getting all the beans. Sometimes there will be smaller ones that are missed, but this is usually what the plants look like. And then once those fingers have pulled off all of the plant material and beans, it follows a series of conveyors up into a fan. And the fan is driven by the PTO, and it spins at a high speed to throw out all of the debris, but keep the beans. So we need to run the fan high enough to clean all the debris out of the beans, but not too high so as to throw the beans completely out of the machine. And then finally, the beans follow their last conveyor up into the top to a hopper that we control, and then we can choose whichever side it dumps into. So remember, we have our guides where the bush will go in. Inside here is the giant drum with the metal fingers. It follows up into our fan, and then the last of the beans follow this conveyor up into the hopper. Pretty simple mechanic, but it works very, very well, and it makes harvesting beans much more enjoyable. We got the green beans harvested and the Italian flat bean, so all that's left is our yellow beans. Harvest. We got 3 baskets of the yellow beans. We got 1, 2, 3 baskets of red baskets of the flat beans, and then 2 bushel baskets of the flat beans. So that's like 5 altogether. And then we finished off with the 6 bushel of green beans. So this should be plenty of beans for the farm. Should be for the weekend, hopefully, if it doesn't get too crazy. Beans have been all moved into the cooler, so that's all taken care of. But now we're heading out to the side-by-side again. And that's because we need to pick a few more things. I know we need some eggplant, tomatoes, and peppers. As you know, we need eggplant, peppers, and tomatoes. Little did we know, Daniel was out here picking peppers. I see him over there. I don't even know when he came out here. It might have been while we were harvesting the red beets that he came out, but Daniel's working on the peppers. So we're gonna get started with the eggplant. Now, Dad, we do this every time we harvest eggplant. What do the people have to look out for as they're harvesting their eggplant?
The reason we use the clippers is on the stem, and right there you can see there's a thorn. That little thorn sticks in your finger and it won't come out. It hurts for days. And then it gets all red. And then, oh, it's terrible. So that's one of the things you need to watch out for as you're harvesting your eggplant. Those thorns are very thin, and when they break off in your skin, ooh, they can really irritate it. So we've got to be careful as we're harvesting. It's got a nose. It's a beautiful eggplant.
It's starting to get a little breezier out here, but that's not a problem. It just makes it a little nicer for picking. We are now in the tomatoes, and I have to say this tomato crop looks far better than the one that we had last year. We've been trying to make sure that we pick all of the field even, so right now we're working on the round and the plum. We have a certain section we're trying to pick to.
Look at these tomatoes right off the vine. Gorgeous.
So we're essentially just trying to keep the tomatoes as harvested as we can, or we're just trying to keep up with them. That's a better way to say it. We don't want to fall behind, because if we fall behind, well, we might lose some. But there's no need to be worrying about that. We're just gonna get started picking. And as you can see, ooh, the tomatoes look good.
Yeah, well, I think out a little further there.
Now, when it comes to the tomatoes, we harvest 2 different types. We have a round and a plum tomato, and we actually grade these tomatoes ourselves. So the way that works is basically a perfect tomato is called an A. So if we have A's or number 1s, we'll also use number 1s. Number 1s fetch a little more price, not only at the farm market, but also at auctions. We do sell a lot of tomatoes for canning though, and the plum that I'm harvesting, we mainly use as canning tomatoes. Now what's interesting is you do get a little bit of a cheaper price when you're buying canning tomatoes, but the tomatoes are not perfect. Now, most of the times your restaurants will be looking for number ones, or a lot of people that are just taking tomatoes home for slicing up, they will prefer number ones. But if you're doing canning, there's really no reason you should be using number ones. You should be using a cheaper tomato like a canning tomato. Now, these tomatoes that we use for canning, a lot of them are actually perfect. They could be number ones. But the thing that we are making sure is not in there is any tomatoes with wet cuts or any tomatoes that are starting to rot. If the tomato has an imperfection on the skin or something that's like a dry cut, that's no problem, because a lot of the times these tomatoes are going to be cut up and blended. Now, we always try to make sure we grow the best tomatoes we can, but there are times where birds, the weather, or other things will cause our tomatoes to have little imperfections. So what we do is try and make sure that we pick the nicest stuff we can, and whatever we can use for canning, we usually do. So if you're looking to can tomatoes this year, maybe make salsa or spaghetti sauce, you don't want to be looking for the perfect tomatoes. You want to be looking for canning tomatoes, because you'll save yourself some money. That's just something I thought I'd share before we get into the bulk of our tomato harvest. If you are doing canning tomatoes, don't be expecting perfect tomatoes. Believe me, because I'll tell you, they're canning tomatoes. They're not number ones, or they're not A's. There's something we don't like to see. That's a wet cut, and it's starting to rot already. The tomatoes that we've been picking today have looked really, really good. And something else that's really amazing is, as we're going out through the field, like, this is nothing compared to what's coming. Look at these green tomatoes. Wow, the size of them is crazy. And something else that's amazing, not just the size, just the quantity of tomatoes that are here. Oh, look at that. That's what we don't like to see. But let's just move these plants a little bit, and it's just flooded with tomatoes. But I mean, that's what we planted here. There better be tomatoes here. But it makes us very happy, and it helps us to appreciate all that hard work we put into growing these tomatoes. It's gonna pay off, and we're starting to see the benefits now. You know those days where you don't wanna go out into the garden, you don't wanna go pull weeds? Yeah, those aren't fun days, but when you do put in the work, you benefit from it. And it's really enjoyable when you start to harvest and you start to reap the benefits. You know, I really think that tomatoes are gonna turn into our best harvest of the year. Sweet corn is usually pretty good and high up there, but if these tomatoes continue to produce, oh my word, these are gonna definitely be the best thing of 2023. These are all the tomatoes that we got harvested today. We only had a little section of field that we really needed to pick through. The tomatoes have once again been completely harvested through, which makes all of us very happy. The next thing that we're gonna be moving on to is peppers. Now, we needed hot cherry and jalapeno. Daniel got 2 baskets already of each, so we need some long hots, and I'm not sure there's much more than that.
I guess I was supposed to do a basket.
Got the 3 baskets of long hots picked that we needed. The only thing is, we forgot that we needed some Italianelle. So we've gotta go down and pick the Italianelle now too. Now, you guys have got to see us harvest plenty of stuff this year so far, but what's your favorite thing that we harvest on the farm? For a lot of people, it's peppers. But let me know down in the comments, because I'm curious, what's your favorite thing that we pick here on the farm? And for all of you that are gonna type peas, just know I'm watching you, because that's not funny. A lot of people really love this sound right here. Yeah, the pepper harvesting is always a good one. And some people like the squeakiness of the peppers. There's a squeak. Yeah, that's fresh. We got the Italianelle put onto the wagon. They were also grabbing some Cubanelle as Matthew and I were grabbing the Italianelle. So all we have to do is pick up the rest of Daniel's peppers, and then we're done. Daniel, you picked them right in the swamp. And that's gonna wrap it up for picking today. We just need to get all this back to the farm now. Hey, what are you doing over there?
Closing the gate.
Whose gate is that?
Left.
Yeah, Lefty left his gate open. We don't know if it's left open, if it's supposed to be open, or he forgot, but we're closing it anyway.
Either we save the horses from getting out, or we're pranking Lefty. Either way, it's a good thing to do.
I'm the one that gets the phone call in the middle of the night, the horses are out.
Now that we're back home with the tomatoes, we're gonna give them a quick run through the washer, and once they come out the other side, the boys are gonna be sorted.
These are all dirty.
We just washed all of the tomatoes and we just got finished with sorting them. So all of this stuff can be moved up into the cooler. We are now in the farm market. We just got everything put away because it is closing time. How was the farm market today? Was it busy?
Yes.
Oh, that's always fun. But now that the farm market is all closed, we're gonna be heading home. Well, everyone, we are now home. Let's see. What? There's no dinner on the table? Yeah, it's date night. And since it's date night, you guys know what that means. This is where we're gonna end the video. I'd like to thank everyone for watching, and I hope to see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye-bye.